what you send out.
Anyways, I wanted to explain a little bit more because I don't know if everybody who watches this is up to date on things. It looks like Yemen launched an attack on Saudi Arabia's oil infrastructure. That's what they claimed. But immediately, hours after it happened, Mike Pompeo said that it was Iran. And there was just a whole bunch of people trying to make the case for it was being Iran. But the furthest they could get to proving it was saying they really think that that Iran promoted it, or what was it? Not funded it. It was some other ambiguous word that means that they could have monetarily funded it, or they could have, actually helped. But it doesn't look like it. The evidence suggests that they could not have, and they vehemently deny having any involvement with it. And it would be stupid for them to do. It just would be idiotic, and they're not idiots at all. They want us to look bad because we're the bad actors here. And they want it to be obvious, so they're not going to do something stupid too, to just be on equal footing as far as belligerence goes. That makes no sense. So they've still determined that they're sure that Iran was behind it, even though they can't say where they were launched from even. So they're deploying troops to Saudi Arabia. They said for defensive purposes. I can just see this though. For defensive purposes, they're going to set up major anti-aircraft because they're going to have to shoot down drones. That's their thinking, right? So now they can put in super anti-aircraft stuff for Saudi. And this was probably in the plan in the first place, because I don't think either one of them did it. I think that Yemen might have done part of it, and I think the United States helped out because it was quite an attack, and it was from many directions. Might have been they waited for an attack, knew it was coming, and then also simultaneously launched an attack. That would have been tactically really wise if you're trying to fuck someone over. Because then they could try to blame it on Iran, and that way they could get anti-aircraft stuff right into Saudi Arabia without there being a, hey, wait a second kind of thing. But I can just see him being defensive right there, and Israel totally bombing the hell out of Iran, and we're just defensive. We don't have anything to do with it. I'm sure that we would, provide targeting and all that, but we're getting involved.
Do you understand their desire to have nuclear weapons?
I don't know what you mean by the word understand. In other words, if I were an Iranian, would I want nuclear weapons? No, absolutely I would not. Why would you want nuclear weapons? Why would you want to do something that puts you at odds with the greatest powers in the world?
Maybe because Israel has them, because the U.S. has them, and they're in Iraq and Afghanistan on both sides.
I think it's
China, Pakistan, India are all in that region, and they all have them. Why shouldn't Iran?
I think it's basically about Iranian internal politics. I think, you can construct a rational argument from, as you're trying to do, but when you probe that argument a little bit deeper, it breaks down. If you were really interested in the good of the Iranian people, why would you want nuclear weapons? Why wouldn't you want good relations with every country in the world? Why would you want to pick a fight with other nations? Israel doesn't have any harm intended against Iran. Why would you want to fight with a technologically advanced and innovative Israel? It can only be about the well springs of political power inside Iran.
Mike Pompeo is in Saudi Arabia meeting with the leaders of the kingdom, including the crown prince, and he actually is there to see evidence that this was the Iranians and to form a plan. Because remember what Trump said, that we are locked and loaded and we're just waiting for the kingdom to tell us what to do. Here's the tweet. Saudi Arabia oil supply was attacked. There is reason to believe that we know the culprit, are locked and loaded, depending on verification, but are waiting to hear from the kingdom as to who they believe was the cause of this attack and under what terms we would proceed. Yeah, we're waiting for the kingdom to tell us.
I went through the Pentagon 10 days after 9/11. I couldn't stay away from Mother Army. I went back there to see Don Rumsfeld. I'd worked for him as a White House fellow in the 1970s. All this is in the book. And an officer from the Joint Staff called me into his office and said, I want you to know, he said, sir, we're going to attack Iraq. And I said, why? He said, we don't know. He said, I said, well, did they tie Saddam to 9/11? He said, no. He said, but I guess they don't know what to do about terrorism. And so they think, but they can attack states, and they want to look strong. And so I guess they think if they take down a state, it will intimidate the terrorists. And, you know, it's like that old saying, he said, if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every problem has to be a nail. And then I came back to the Pentagon about 6 weeks later. I saw the same officer. I said, why haven't we attacked Iraq? We still going to attack Iraq? He said, oh, sir. He says, it's worse than that. He said, he pulled up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office that says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. On to. This country was taken over by a group of people with a policy coup. Wolfowitz and Cheney and Rumsfeld, and you could name a half dozen other collaborators from the Project for a New American Century. They wanted us to destabilize the Middle East, turn it upside down, make it under our control. It went back to those comments in 1991. Now, did anybody ever tell you that? Was there a national dialogue on this? Did senators and congressmen stand up and denounce this plan? Was there a full-fledged American debate on it? Absolutely not. And there still isn't.